What was the biggest challenge going into Richmond back in 2005?
Well, back in 2005, Richmond was coming out of some really difficult financial times. In 2003, 2004, it really struggled. It considered at the time even declaring bankruptcy. They looked at that as an option, got themselves into some financial trouble. Fortunately, a lot of the real hard work to keep that ship from sinking was done before I got to Richmond. And so when I got there in 2005, the finances were still difficult, but it wasn't teetering on bankruptcy. It was, if you think about a fishing weight, it had hit the bottom of the lake, and it was just sort of dragging along the bottom. The weight was, but we really hadn't started climbing out of it. So for me coming in, the job I felt was to build the organization back in terms of its capabilities and what it needed to do to effectively serve the residents while living within these financial constraints. And
Hmm.
that was the challenges. And the organization was, I would also describe it as being very damaged. People had been hurt by all the layoffs that had to be done to get the city from really going over the edge, and um, and that was it was part of it was to providing some reassurance that we could get a lot of work done and we could serve the residents and we could live within our means, and providing that confidence that we could be a very good, responsive city.
Hmm. Now, you went in 2005. Richmond's starting to come out of all these different problems. Then the 2007, 8, 9 crash hits.
Right.
How much did that affect the city?
It it really was devastating. It was very very tough. There were a lot of projects that were development projects that were in the pipeline. We were Our tax base was expanding. We were doing pretty well, balancing our budget again, and pensions, were a topic now. Certainly, were not a topic then because the retirement system was well funded. And then the recession hit, and we went from, at the time, maybe about 7 or 8% unemployment to almost 20%, about 19% unemployment. Um,
Yeah, that was about the state average too.
yeah, yeah, that's right. And we were even above the state average. Thankfully, we're way down from that, but that was difficult. We still had the same needs that we always had as a community, only now even more so. With foreclosures, with more blight to deal with with a declining tax base. We had, from over a 2-year period, we had a 37% drop in our property tax revenues, and which was at the time our largest
That's
single
huge.
revenue source, and that
Yeah.
was huge. So we had a difficult time, no question about it.
So you were really thrown into learning
Yeah,
a lot of different challenges handling a big city.
right. Yeah, it was not something I really would have wished on me or wished on the community. But sometimes you have to play the hand you're dealt, and that was one of them. And
And you had a lot of support too.
I had great support. I The management staff did very well through it, and the city council, I think, made good decisions. They understood that what needed to get done. What I wanted to try to do is not to repeat what had been done in 2003, 2004, where we had to just devastate the organization. My goal, really, throughout the 13 years I've been there, has to have it's always been to try to keep things as stable as possible, because I think that a municipal organization, really any organization, will do better in the long term if you're not having wide swings or letting wide swings in revenues or expenditures affect you so that you don't know what the customer expectations, or the customer doesn't know what their expectations should be. So, and the stability helps with the employment. The employees are, they're hopefully not worried about, will I have a job tomorrow? They can think about what the job is in front of them today. And so we weathered the recession with some deficit budgets. We really cut into our reserves a lot, something I never really wanted to do, but it was also, I would describe it as being strategic. And I'm glad we came out of the recession when we did, because now the cash is back up to where it should be. But we haven't grown very much. I mean, we haven't added back a whole lot of staff. Again, trying to keep that stability, even with that better tax base, better employment.
I would imagine some of those decisions are extremely difficult to make. I mean, you're really weighing so many different options, and you're not quite sure how the outcome in the end is going to be, right?
That's exactly right. You're trying to do the best you can. And as you mentioned, I did have a lot of support, and I think the city council, when presented with the information, made some good decisions. They knew, I would say, what the risks were. They understood um, what would be good in the long term for the city organization, and I think they did their jobs very well.